Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight, whenever you happen to be seeing this, I would like to offer the November elemental reading for the element of fire. Fire covers the zodiac signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So if you're Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, then this is readings for you. Or if you've had your charts read and you know where your elements align, if fire's high up in that, this one might offer you some insight. And there's a link in the description for a natal chart. It's not sponsored or anything, but it's a really interesting baseline to give you an idea of what is in a natal chart, and there's 10 to 20 pages of a description with it, so it's definitely worth checking out if you've never had one done. With that being said, we're going to hop into our reading. And fire, I cast the I-ching hexagram before starting the video, and you got number 4, which is immaturity, uncultivated growth. Interesting title. So, the text is good fortune, immaturity. I am not one to seek out uncultivated youth, but if such a youth seeks me out, I shall at first read and explain to him omens. Yet should he ask me many times, just because of his importunity, I shall not explain anything more. The omen indicates a need for proper direction. So, fire, this is kind of pointing out that the good fortune aspect of it is there's someone possibly coming into your life that you are going to be mentoring, or you might be ending up in a situation where you're the apprentice needing to be mentored. But it's really saying this is a good time for that for you. It's also indicating that when someone explains it to you in detail and you ask them, I don't understand, can you repeat that entire thing? First of all, that doesn't usually work. But it's also saying if you're the one teaching, explain it clearly the first time, answer questions appropriate to the situation, but there's no benefit in repeating yourself over and over again because you explained it, and that's what's important. And that's where it says, I shall not explain anything more. The omen indicates a need for proper direction. So this is where instead of explaining until you're blue in the face, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, ask questions as we go. That way you're getting things moving and it's not just standing around talking. And if you've ever managed before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And our baseline here, our foundation, to enlighten the immature youth, it is advisable to apply discipline. Even fetters may be required, but to use them overmuch is harmful. Well, I don't think in today's world that putting chains on someone's a good idea, but to enlighten the immature youth, it is advisable to apply discipline. When you are in a situation where you're either being taught or you're teaching, keeping people focused is the most important thing, really. And that's where it's advisable to apply discipline. Like, catch their attention. We're not doing this. This is what we're working on. That question is for a later time. We're not to that point yet. This is what we're doing. And sometimes it takes a little bit more aggressive stance where you have to remind them of position. Or sometimes if you're getting a little distracted, they're going to remind you of your position. So if they're the ones that are teaching. And this is really just saying to grow and mature is to understand the appropriate time and place for certain conversations to occur. And so that's really what's coming forward here. And it's interesting how this is playing out, fire, because I'm getting getting very much Aries energy here, where they really want to get everything going, get all this stuff started, but follow through might not be the greatest. And that's kind of the vibe that's coming up here. So our second place line, being gentle with the immature brings good fortune. Taking a wife brings good fortune. Sons will be capable of taking over the household affairs when the strong young and the weak old are in mutual harmony. If you are in a situation where you're managing, you're instructing, you want the next generation to be able to actually step into your role so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting anymore, physically or metaphorically. And that's what this is saying, is this is where we guide or are willing to be guided into a situation where we can help lift the burden. We can help disperse the the work that needs to be done. And it's really saying this is a process of maturing. This is a process of growth. Be malleable, be willing to learn, ask appropriate questions, but also be the teacher that you always wanted, the one who will answer the questions, but also keep you focused in the path that you are on. So it's really kind of a fun month here. There's this growth opportunity, but it's a shifting from immaturity into a mature aspect. So our third place line, do not choose a wife who, on seeing a wealthy man, cannot contain herself. Nothing brings advantage. This is really saying, and it's interesting because I just had this conversation in real life, literally about 2 days ago, honestly, from the date this video is recorded. And it's saying, do not choose a wife upon seeing a wealthy man cannot contain herself. Nothing brings advantage. This is one of those areas, Fire, where you want to make sure that you're teaching or you're promoting or you're educating someone who is willing to learn and still has the humility to know that just because they've learned something doesn't mean they know everything. Know-it-alls never go well. And it's one of those areas where you want someone who is in a position but also is not wanting the power of the position. Do not choose a wife who sees a wealthy man cannot contain herself. Insert gender appropriately. Don't promote someone who is strictly looking for power. It will never work out well. And don't be the person who seeks promotion just to have authority to lord over others. Those two things are one of the most destructive things in life. Don't get in a relationship where you're going to be, I'm the one in charge and I will control. That's never going to work. It will always blow up in your face. This is talking about maturing into a position where mutual assured success is what the goal is. If that's not what someone who's involved in this situation is looking at, they don't need to be there. Plain and simple. Our fourth place line, which is obstinacy and immaturity cause harm. This is where that bullheaded aspect comes in where, well, so-and-so can do it, so why can't I? Because you're not there yet. You haven't learned. You haven't matured. So this is where you want to not be too closed-minded. If you're teaching, you have to learn how to guide. If you're the one being taught, you have to understand that the person who's teaching you does know more than you. That's why they're the teacher and you're not. You will eventually achieve, but don't always assume that you know more than the other person. And when they're correcting you, don't be obstinate. Well, so-and-so gets to do it. So what? So this is really an interesting aspect of calling for maturity, but doing so with humility and with wisdom. Because you might gain knowledge, but if you're not working the experience into it, you'll never be wise. So, fifth place line, youthful innocence brings good fortune. The youthful innocence here is that childlike wonder, like, ooh, what are we learning today? But then you process it, you hold it, and then you apply it. Because that's what they're talking about here. This month, November, for Fire it's either going to be your growth and your maturation into a new aspect of yourself, or it's your guiding someone else into that. So there's definitely a duality going on here, so that's a little tricky, but it's calling for expansion in the correct way. It's for promotion, expansion, and growth with humility towards wisdom. So our capstone, top line here, in dealing firmly with youthful immaturity, there is nothing to be gained from doing what is wrong. Advantage lies in preventing the wrong. This is really an interesting month for our Fire family because it's saying there is a potential for a great deal of growth here. There is a potential for a massive amount of expansion, really. There is a maturing process, whether it's you or someone that you're training and guiding. There is a call for maturing. But the maturing has to be done correctly. It cannot be forced. It cannot be done through bribery or coercion. It must be guided responsibly with wisdom and humility. So this month of November, from the I-ching's perspective, is really saying, are you ready for the next stage? As a teacher, as a student, are you ready for the next level of growth? And it's not saying it's a forced thing. Actually, that particular I-ching is saying, this is what's available. Are you ready? And if you are, here we go. If you're not, things will pause. Because it's not saying that you're stopping. It's saying that you just may not be ready for that shift to occur. And especially if you're stepping into a role as a leader, that can be a little bit of a challenge, Fire. I've personally had multiple times in my life where I've ended up in those situations. And trust me, the last thing I want is those positions. Because I know what responsibility comes with it. The power that you get is fun to a certain extent, I guess, but there's a responsibility that is cloaked with that. And that's what they're talking about, is when you take these positions with humility, the wisdom that you gained works very well for you. You've matured into the position. But to do so, to accept and move into these different states of being without maturing, without wisdom, that's where bad, not so great things happen. We'll just call it that. So your I-ching is really actually an interesting one this month for Fire. We'll keep that in mind as we move into our cards. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. As we go through the cards, if you have a different impression or intuition, because I read from intuition, feel free to drop that in the comments down below. And you never know, you might help someone else along their journey. I like to work week by week. There are approximately 4 weeks in November, so we'll just do a set of 4. Each week we look at a guide or guardian. We look at a message from source, which is supportive, affirmation type messages, and then we look at a little more clarification with the tarot. And drop a like on the video if you enjoy this type of content. So we'll start off with your first week's guide or guardian, which is the golden solar dragon. It helps you stand in your masculine power with wisdom. This is a great way to start your month. Let your DNA be reprogrammed with light codes activated. Become an inspired leader. So the I-ching is saying you're starting from an immature state, moving into a mature state, or you're guiding someone into their matured state. The golden solar dragon is coming in to say, first of all, be out in the sun, get a little bit of sunlight as you go through each day. That way it helps to, reawaken the part of you that is connected to the sun, which is your soul. But also saying this is a good time for you to show that you're able to lead. Show that you're able to step into that position of leadership. This is not an easy month, Fire. This is going to be a little bit of could be a little bit of a challenge. Again, with I-ching, it's saying this is a possibility if you are willing to take it. And so far, the cards are tying into that, because you've got this leadership coming up the very first week. It's not even like taking a pause. We're moving into leadership roles. So your message from source is the Orion activation, supernova, recreation, renewal, rebirthed by light. If you're the one who's teaching and leading, one thing that I have experienced, and the energy that's coming in right now is going with this. When you're the one teaching, you're still learning. As you are showing someone else, you get to recreate it. You're renewing your wisdom. You are allowing yourself to expand. So what's coming in this month is really a reminder to yourself that you actually know more than you thought, first of all. But second of all, as you teach others, you get to learn something new. You get to learn maybe a different way to teach. You might get to learn a new way of understanding something that's you might have already had an idea of. But with this energy coming in, you're really stepping through a gateway into a different aspect of self. And you're stepping into a higher aspect of self. And that's what the I-ching is talking about, and the cards are actually enhancing this, is this is a month where you get to explore who you are as a leader, as a teacher, or as a student. And then you get to explore, how are you growing this month? Because this month is a big growth month, is what we're seeing here. The tarot says the 6 of winter, positive changes on the way, a welcome relief from troubled times, travel or relocation. So 6 of winter is saying now it's time to really embrace these changes. This is a time for your growth if you choose to accept it. That's the I-ching is not saying force this month. It's really interesting because it's saying these are what's available if you choose to take this path. But if you choose to take this path, the Six of Winter is saying now you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you've been someone who's been trying to move up in the ranks, you've been doing all the right things, you're not sure if anyone's even paying attention. This is the time where you may end up in a position where you get to apprentice with someone who's that is knowledgeable, like a goal you've been searching for, and they're willing to show you. Or it could be the fact that you unintentionally have stepped into a position where now you're teaching, now you're guiding, now you're the one that they're all turning to. But this is going to work out in your favor. Either way, Fire, you're in a really good spot. And this first week is saying step into that leadership with humility, with wisdom, and allow yourself to be guided into a higher and higher state of wisdom and knowledge. So your second week is the Golden Orange Dragon. I love the fact these dragons are all fire related. Expand your light for ascension, be a peaceful warrior, help those in need, and remember your magnificence. A peaceful warrior means you're ready, and if it ever comes to a time where you need to, deal with things, but you don't need to. The I-ching talks about discipline, but not to take it too far. And so the Golden Orange Dragon is coming in to really say, you know what your role is this month, Fire. Whether it's the student or the teacher, you know your position. And now it's time to embrace it and move forward, seeking wisdom, seeking the growth, but not seeking the ego that can go with some of those things, because that's beyond what you're actually trying to do. You're actually wanting to grow to be a better person. I just threw a book on the floor. So it's time for you to really embrace those changes. This is going to be an interesting month. That's all I have to say. It'll be interesting to see how you guys respond. So like I said, let me know in the comments. Your message from Source are the halls of Amenti initiation. No idea what this is. Secrets revealed, treasures uncovered, and initiations. This is really, I'm not sure what the Amenti part is, but it's really a call to embrace the growth. If you're the teacher, you're going to have to go through and explain, but you're going to have to remember how you were taught, and then is that going to work with this next person? So you may have to adjust a lot of how you communicate to be able to pass on your information. And if you're the student, this is where you get initiated. If you're stepping into an apprenticeship, you may have to experience things or understand things or put aside assumptions that you had before, because it's now time for you to be initiated into the next steps. If you've ever went from being just a regular crew member to a position of management, shift manager, trainer, whatever it is, you'll know that you go through a period of education. And it's always chaos because you're like, I'm good. Oh no, I don't know anything. So you have this bell curve of learning. And that's where you're at, is you're in this position where you thought you knew stuff, but maybe there's some more you need to know. And the universe is saying this is your initiation into this world of wisdom, this world of grace. And it's a world of the peaceful warrior. You know you can deal with things. You try to find a more calm way of dealing with them so they don't go into that other state. That's a trick, and that's an initiation aspect that does come forward here. Your message from the tarot is number 3, big energy here. It's major arcana, and it's the Empress. Time to take action, the power of creativity, success that allows for the life of luxury. The energy that you are working with this month, Fire, is your own goals, dreams, and ambitions. These are things that you have been wanting, searching, and trying to build towards. The universe is saying, are you ready to walk forward with, again, they keep focusing on this humility aspect where your ego is put aside and you're doing the right thing for the right reason. You're stepping into this position, or you're being taught this position, because it is your time and it's your turn. Things are aligned. Now it's time to shift. So really this is a month of initiation across the board for our Fire family. If this resonates for you, great. If not, you can skip forward a little bit. This initiation is not simply into a work situation. They're showing that this is really a shift from the mundane world that you thought you knew, which you may have known pretty well, but you're moving into a spiritual aspect where you start to understand the movements behind the scenes. So you're really in the position of growth, but it's growth on a level that you have not experienced yet, because you're no longer looking at things from the everyday mundane world. Go to work, go home, wife, kids, husband, kids, whatever it is. That's been the pattern, and now you're starting to see there's a spiritual thread. Everything that you have done up to this point has led you to this point. And now you're starting to understand that your guides, your guardians, your intuition, all of the spiritual stuff in life as well, has been playing its part to get you here. Whatever's going on this month of November, there's definitely some powerful shifts being called up for our fire family. At least a fair amount of you is what I'm seeing here. So like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you're feeling with this. Your third week's guide or guardian is the Earth Dragon. Clears your path and the land around you. Stay grounded, be ready to serve. Stuck energy clearing, you can move forward in life. So the Earth Dragon is saying, now that you are getting connected, now that you're stepping into kind of the good luck aspect of life, things are shifting and changing. The path ahead of you is being cleared. The Earth Dragon is coming in to be like, there's no point in struggling. Let's just make this an easier trip. Because you're willing to be taught, or you're teaching in a way that is aligned with your spirit. And the Earth Dragon is saying it's time for you to be grounded. Again, this is where the ego doesn't get to play this month. Fire, this is a month where you understand the difference between the ego and the self, and you're able to do so successfully. And the Earth Dragon is just coming in to kind of tap you on the shoulder saying, you've got this, let's do it the right way, which allows you to actually grow healthy. And this is an interesting reading. That's all I have to say. Your message from Source is the Akashic Records, clearing old stories, releasing past lives, freedom. If you've never worked with the Akashic Records, this third week of November, it might be a good time to tap into that a little bit. Maybe get a reading from someone, or if you're a practitioner of metaphysics already, this might be the time to ask your guides, guardians, and angels to bring you to the Akashic Records, because the records are going to show you your past and how things have played out to this point. The Earth Dragon is clearing the path ahead. The Akashic Records are saying, now it's time to look to your history to see how you got here, and maybe get to see what's coming next. But this is really tying into that energy of the shift that is occurring. This shift is not simply physical. The shift is a spiritual wake-up call, so to speak. So, fire. If you have never worked with the Akashic Records, it might not be try it out this third week. That's kind of the energy that's coming up, because the Akashic Records hold the records of every single decision that you've ever made, plus all the alternative versions of you. So it's not just as simple as reading the line in the text, it's understanding the movement and the energy, what choices you made brought you here, but you can also see the variances. There's a lot with the Akashic Records. That's why you want to work with your guides and your guardians, and you want to work in a sacred space, a sacred atmosphere, because that way you tap into the correct version. There's two different records, by the way. There's the ones who are the true records, which are the high vibe ones, but you also have the ego records, because they're a little more tricky. So you want to make sure that you're reaching out to your angels, your guides, and to God, Source, Divine, however you see that, when you start this process. And if you go to a practitioner, that's another story, but make sure that you are clear, that you have been, prayerful, meditative before you show up. That way you're ready for the actual messages. This is interesting. Message from the tarot is number 12 in the major arcana, which is awakening. Traditional tarot, it would be the Hanged Man. Change the way you're looking at the situation. Embrace your uniqueness. A temporary pause in action. This is just saying that you're not going to be able to do things identical to how other people have done them. If you were taught a certain way, you've adjusted since you were taught. So the way you teach is going to come through in that aspect. And if you're the student in this situation, take what they're teaching you, get the core principles, but you're going to end up making it your own. Pausing in the action is saying this is a good time for reflection. Again, you also have the Akashic Records coming forward this week. So this is, third week is integration week. The first 2 weeks were initiation and opening up to this expanded you, and this third week is it's time to integrate, and that's where the Earth Dragon is going to help clear the path ahead, because as you bring everything together, it's going to ease things going forward. It's just how life works, as fun and chaotic as that can be. So let's take a peek here at our fourth week for fire for November. And we have the Silver Lunar Dragon. This is literally the first one that does not have to do with being out in the sun. Bathes you in divine feminine light. So we had divine masculine to start the month with this guy. And now we have the divine feminine coming forward. Come into balance and peace, practice peace, harmony, and cooperation. Expand your causal chakra. If you're new to the extended chakra realm, the causal tends to sit just above the crown and just behind it. So it's about 2 to 3 inches, depending on who you talk to, above the crown, but it sits behind your head. Where the crown is on, this one's behind. And the causal chakra holds your, from my understanding, your genetic memory, but also all of your bloodlines of who you used to be. So it's kind of an interesting little chakra up there. But with the Silver Lunar Dragon, this is where you start to tap into your intuition. You tap into that more fluid state of being. Fire, we're talking about your opposite here. So this is probably not going to be the most comfortable thing, but when you're bringing balance between the masculine and the feminine, this month is a very masculine, projective, shall we say, maybe even a dominant or aggressive month. But at the end of it, it's saying, now don't forget, you have intuition, you have a softer side. That's where you understand that being too harsh as a trainer is not going to benefit, or being too sensitive as the student is not going to benefit. The Silver Lunar Dragon is coming in to say, don't forget, we've got to find balance through this. As you went through this month, it's been an awakening, it's been growth, a little bit of pause, and now it's time to reflect. So let's take a peek at what Source has to say about all this for your last week of November. Must be something good, because the cards are just not coming up. But yeah, it's a little bit of a confusing month, because the energy is so strong, but it's also giving this total vibe of, but we're not forcing this. This is what's available if you're willing and ready to take the next steps, but we're not forcing. So it's an interesting dichotomy of, there's definitely a lot of growth available, but you have to make the decision in that first week to say, this is what I'm going to do, and the universe is going to come in ready for you. If you're like, you know what, maybe not, they're just going to step aside and wait, because this is a shift that you planned before you came into this role of this physical environment. So this is not something you're going to walk away from. It's eventually going to catch up, but right now the month of November is saying, here's an opportunity, are you ready to take it? Your message from Source is the Seraphim Gateway. This is the highest choir of angels. These are the ones that surround the throne of heaven. They're the ones that sing praise and glory. This is also the class that Metatron is attached to. So we're not talking down here. We're talking like way up here, angel-wise. Voice activation, angelic attunement, and divine support. You're not walking through this month alone. You're not walking through this month without help, without guidance, without support. The Seraphim Gateway is saying, this is where you're going. You're moving into a high aspect of who you are. You're connecting to God's Source Divine in a way that you didn't think you could do before. You're opening to a spiritual reality this month of November. So Fire, this is a really powerful call to embrace these changes. Pay attention to your dreams. The angels love to talk to people in dreams, so pay attention to those. Pay attention to the little daydreams that catch your attention as well, because the seraphim do not just walk in dreams, they walk in brilliant light. And that ties back to the first week where it says go out in the sun, get some connection to the divine light. The seraphim are also saying that, but they're going to do it in a much more subtle way. The other term that I've seen for seraphim are the flaming serpents, because that's kind of the aspect we're talking here. So this is fluid fire, which kind of ties into that lunar part where you're bringing this energy of fire and water together, and it's a union of opposites that creates magic. So your message from the tarot is the Queen of Summer: loving, comforting, emotional, and intuitive. Again, this last week, you're taking all the action and you're reflecting it back into the intuition. Listening to your heart, intuitive insights you can trust, bringing that high vibe into the everyday, and then taking care of others. But you don't want to do that too much. This month is about your growth. That's not to mean to ignore others. It just means don't sacrifice your spiritual journey. Don't sacrifice the growth that you're willing to, if you're willing to step into this path this month, fire, just because someone else doesn't think it's good. This is your time to love and embrace these people and love and embrace the life you're leading, but not to forget why you're doing this. The Queen of Summer knows how far you've come, and she also knows how far you're willing to go, and how far Destiny's going to play with this. So you've got a lot of different vibes with this Queen of Summer, but she's saying, don't forget, don't get distracted, which ties into the I-ching as well. By the end of the month, they're like, no, everything's going well, don't get distracted. So, fire, there is a powerful amount of shifting occurring this month. And again, if you're willing to step into this role, the shift will occur pretty quickly. It's going to happen, you're going to be able to reflect about it, then you're going to integrate it, because you've been initiated into the next level of your existence. And they just want to keep, my guides are being loud about this. This is more of a spiritual shift for you, and it's more of a spiritual growth. You're stepping into a new version of yourself, but a version of yourself that is more tied to spirit than the mundane world. So let's see how that plays out for our fire family. With that, I will let you guys and gals go. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video.